So you think you know the story of Christmas pretty well? Universe created, chaos ordered, humans fell. Chose a different path which fractured everything. We detoured this whole journey to this little baby king. God's plan to bring us wholeness was always set in Jesus. But our foray out of Eden meant God's plan had now to save us too. In Abraham, God was still our God, but he didn't get it either. Sold his wife to Pharaoh, God cursed Egypt. That's a sidebar, which will come up again as Egypt is a symbol for all that keeps us slaves. Liberation is the end goal. So Abraham and Sarah both are given the great promise, though they can't have kids because they're old and he's no Adonis. But God says that's no barrier. They will birth a nation. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Becca, Rachel's son, Joseph is how they end up in Egypt doing well. 400 years pass in a blip, and now it's a living hell. God chooses Moses as their saviour. He is not so keen. Send someone else, he says to God, but he went, and we have seen so many movies of the plagues and Pharaoh's stubborn heart. God liberates God's people, not before Egypt's torn apart by Pharaoh's stubborn heart. So off God's people trot, spend some time wandering the desert, complaining that they should have stayed in slavery. No, they didn't get it. But before we write them off as stupid people from the times past, let's check ourselves and all the times we choose what doesn't last. We are bitter, mean and angry, ungenerous and small. Those people sat in the desert are not far from us at all. They end up far from God though, shipping idols made of gold. Yet God still gives the 10 words, which brings life to them of old. Here's how to live, they say, so that things will go quite well. Live like this, you'll know God's blessing. Will they do it? Who can tell? No, you're right, they didn't do it. Instead of slaves became the masters, cheating, treating people badly. Where will this go? My nerves in tatters. Well, off to exiles where they went, to learn that that's what happens. Choose to oppress, you'll be oppressed in Babylon's hanging gardens. Back in slavery they have gone, and so return to God. Please come and get us, save us, bless us. And God doesn't say sod off. I know I don't get it either, but that is how God rolls. And if we are all honest, aren't we glad that's how this unfolds? So God rescues them again and again. This cycle of unfaithfulness to God goes on again, until we end up here. Romans are the new Egypt. They're the ones to fear. And this is where the rescue plan needs something a little special. So Mary finds herself on the end of a message from an angel. Here's God's plan, Gabriel says. A baby, are you in? A little freaked, but sure, she says. You say he'll sort out all the sin which keeps us all as slaves, which keeps our souls in chains, which is the start of all the wars, injustice, tyrants' reigns, which cracked the world at the beginning, and so we live with cracks, with earthquakes, storms and great tsunamis, pain, death and all the lack of food, whilst others are so full and fat. Sin isn't just the stuff we do, it's all that isn't right, it's the rabid lack of love. Will this baby sort the whole damn lot? Is that to what I'm saying yes? Yes, said Gabriel. Then yes, said Mary. Glad that's sorted, there'll be a mess. Sure, but don't you worry, Mary. You are part of all this story. You are needed in this bit because you are so ordinary. The shepherds are who's coming next to represent the outcast, and then the Persians bringing gifts, all here, the first and last. And last of all are those who hear this story being told in churches up and down the land each Christmas in the cold. This story which includes all them who briefly dare to come and hear once more the tale of God who left a heavenly home. Remember, when you hear this ode, that the story started then, with universe created, chaos ordered, humans fell. I won't repeat again. This is your story too. And you know, God's waiting for your yes. There's no bigger plot surprise. For you, God stepped into the mess.